Alrighty, let's go. Welcome back into the Red Zone Report Super Bowl edition, baby. We have one game left of the football season. Man, it's just absolutely flown by. We're here. Last game, Seattle Seahawks, New England Patriots for Super Bowl 60, the Vince Lombardi Trophy. Seattle, 4.5-point favorite at the moment. Total has been sitting about 45.5 pretty much all week long. The lines have not moved too much in the last week or so. They're pretty much slow and like sitting sort of in that sort of realm between 4 and 5. I don't think it's going to reach 5.5. I don't think it's definitely going to reach 6. We're sort of just hanging around that 4.5 sort of mark, and it's at that 45.5 total. Both these teams before the season started were 30-1, or even maybe 60-1 actually, to go and win the Super Bowl. And the fact that both these teams are here now is quite surprising to me. But instead of me just sort of blabbering on, just giving you a few bets, that sort of thing, I want to really break down this game for you guys, and sort of from the quarterback to the running back to the wide receivers to the defense, and then we're going to have a look at props from there as well and go from best bets from there. Give you some special bets as well. The amount of markets that are in the Super Bowl is just freaking nuts. It felt like this morning I was scrolling. There's just all sorts of bets, so many novelty bets, over-unders for anthems, color of the Gatorade, that sort of thing. So without further ado, let's get stuck into it, baby. And I'm going to start off with the quarterback battle. So we've got Sam Darnold against Drake May here. Drake May coming into his second year. Sam Darnold been in the league for a while now, but first year under the Seattle Seahawks. He has been the most has won the most games as a quarterback in the last 2 seasons, which is pretty unreal when you look back at Sam Darnold's career at the Jets, at like the Panthers, that sort of thing. Has been resurrected at the Vikings and Seattle now, making his Super Bowl berth. Drake May essentially probably not going to win the MVP, but was definitely in line at some stage during the season to go actually win the MVP in his second year at the Patriots, second year in the league. So let's have a look at the numbers. So I think we can obviously both, like everyone can sort of agree that Drake May has been the better quarterback this season. Out of these two here, Sam Darnold passing yards 4,048 compared to Drake May 4,394. So Drake May gets the edge there. Honestly, that's about 30 sort of yards, like 20 to 30 sort of yards per game there. Passing touchdowns, you got 31 and 25 to Drake May there. So Drake May also gets the edge. Interceptions, 14 for Darnold, 8 for Drake May. This is regular season stats, by the way. And quarterback rating for the season, Drake May 113.5 to Sam Darnold 99.1. However, I do not have the playoff stats in front of me. When you do look at the playoff stats, Sam Darnold has been unbelievable, I think, these playoffs. And those 2 games, a massive credit to him, because something I did not see coming. And even look back, let's compare add the third game, because Drake May has played 3 playoff games. Let's add the third game against San Francisco for Sam Darnold. He has not had an interception in those 3 games whatsoever. I think Drake May has had definitely a couple. I think he kept it pretty good against the Broncos in that game there, although he didn't really have to do much in that pretty poor weather in the second half there. But overall, I think we can probably give the edge there to quarterback there, Drake May, when it comes to this Super Bowl here matchup. Advantage so far to the Patriots in this matchup here. How I'm going to sort of look at the end is sort of look at the edges that we've got in this match, and then sort of go from there, who I think will sort of win the Super Bowl, where I'm looking in regards to spread, that sort of thing. All right, let's have a look at our running backs for this game here. Now, I get it. Patriots have got Trayvon Henderson, that sort of thing, but I'm going to look at the main running back ones in this contest here. So we've got Kenneth Walker against Ramondre Stevenson here. Zach Charbonnet obviously was massive part of the Seattle Seahawks season. He is now injured for the year. And then we've obviously seen Trayvon Henderson in his rookie season as well for the Patriots. So Kenneth Walker does have the advantage in rush yards this season. Both have played every single game, 1,027 to 603. Quite a big difference. However, when you do get to the red zone, we have seen Ramondre Stevenson 9 touchdowns to 5. Kenneth Walker obviously has scored a few in the playoffs as well. Did score 3 against San Francisco in the divisional matchup. And And then I believe I think he scored one in the conference championship as well against the Rams. Average rush, both sitting at 4.6, which is pretty good going. And then on the receiving side, very even as well. 31 to 32 receptions, 282 receiving yards, and 345 receiving yards to Ramondre Stevenson. Now, overall, as a running back, I would probably say Kenneth Walker is the better running back in this situation. But in the grand scheme of things, in terms of running backs, is there a big enough difference where you go, Kenneth Walker is going to be the game breaker instead of over Ramondre Stevenson and break this game open? No. You can't really look at a game like this in any NFL game and say Kenneth Walker is a big game difference. Honestly, if you put Zach Charbonnet in there instead of Kenneth Walker, you'd probably be looking at like a pretty even matchup once again. Let's give the slight edge to Kenneth Walker though. But overall, so far, quarterback edge definitely goes to obviously Drake May. Overall edge so far, I would put it towards the Patriots side. Now, let's have a look at the wide receivers in this one here. Wide receiver one, I'm not going to delve deep into, like Rashid Shaheed against, like Matt Collins, that sort of thing. I'm just going to look at Jackson Smith and Jigba against Stephon Diggs in this matchup here. This is a pretty easy one to sort of cover because JSN has probably been arguably one of the best offensive players and probably the best wide receiver this season. 119 receptions, nearly 1,800 yards on receiving as well. Compare that to Stephon Diggs, 85 receptions for 1,013 yards. Massive difference. Average reception, 15.1 for JSN compared to 11.9 for Diggs. Touchdowns, 10 to 4 in that situation there. So JSN easily has the edge over Stephon Diggs in this situation. Seattle definitely got the edge in wide receiver one. Sam Darnold's got his guy. We saw JSN have a pretty solid game against the Rams in the conference championship as well. However, Stephon Diggs, I believe this is his first Super Bowl after losing a lot of conference championships. He didn't make one for Minnesota, he didn't make one for Houston, and he didn't make one for Buffalo either. So, first Super Bowl, you think you want to turn up for the situation, and if Drake May is in a situation where he needs to find his guy, you can probably look for Stephon Diggs to sort of step up in this situation here. He definitely is a big game guy for me. JSN, first Super Bowl, I think, what's his fourth year in the league for JSN. It's going to be an awesome wide receiver battle, but you're looking at the numbers here, and just from what you've seen throughout the season, 100% you've got to give the edge to Jackson Smith and Jigba here. So far, I'm going to give the edge to Patriots quarterback-wise. Let's give a small edge to Seattle. Let's give an edge to Seattle when it comes to the wide receiver department there as well. All right. Now, let's look into the defensive battle between these two teams. And two of probably the best defenses in the league so far. These two defenses in the playoffs have been unbelievable, I think, as well. Top five, I think, definitely so far. You look at the yards per game, that's conceding. So Seattle's been conceding close to 286 yards per game here. You look at the Patriots, 295.2. The under 10 yards per game throughout the season, very, very minimal, very slight difference. Points-wise, Seattle been conceding just over 17 points. Patriots conceding just under 19 points. So 1.6 points on defense between these two sides. Very, very even. Interceptions, where I think potentially this could definitely come into the fold when you look at into the Super Bowl here. Even though Drake May had throughout the regular season, you go back and he's had 8 interceptions throughout the regular season here. He's had a couple in the playoffs. He had, I think, 2 or 3 against Houston in that divisional battle. I think he had a couple against the Chargers there as well. Now you go back to here. Seattle had 18 interceptions throughout the regular season, over 1 per game, which is a lot. They've got a brutal pass rush, and the secondary is awesome there as well with Warry. And lots of other players there as well. The Patriots' pass rush is very good as well. Don't get me wrong. And the ability for the Patriots' pass rush, or overall the defense, have 4 defensive touchdowns this season is pretty incredible. Nearly 1 every 4 games. And Seattle's just had that one pick six that they've had against Minnesota, against Max Brosma there. That pick six was about an 80 to 90 yard pick six in that one there. And then sack-wise, 48 to 47 there. for the Patriots there in that battle. So honestly, the defense, they're both top 5 for the season, and this Patriots defense during the playoffs has been unbelievable. They kept the Chargers to 3 points. They've kept the Texans to 16 points, I believe it was. And then they kept Denver to just 7 points as well, under 10 points an average during the playoffs so far. Seattle, on the other hand, they did concede, what was it, around 30 sort of points to the Rams a couple weeks ago, although the Rams are one of the best offenses in the league. A week before that, they only conceded, 6 or 9 points to San Fran. So these two defenses absolutely elite. And I've heard some people say Patriots have the better defense. I've heard some people say that Seattle have the better defense. Let's just call it even for this part here. I think both defenses are awesome. If I'm relying on someone to get an interception one more than the other, I would put down Seattle here. But I think in the first half especially, I think this is going to be a very sort of tight and gritty game. Both offenses just trying to get used to the game, coming up against really good defenses. And you look at actually how the schedule is looked at for both these teams. Patriots have definitely had the easiest schedule, for sure. And you look at the one thing I worry about for the Patriots and Drake May is they've hardly come up against really good defenses this season. You'd probably argue that the Texans was the best defense that they've faced so far this season in that divisional battle there. But that was at home in a good situation for them. CJ Stroud threw 5 interceptions in that game there as well, which really did boost up Patriots, just where they started, and just in regards to field advantage, where they started a lot of their drives. Seattle, on the other hand, I don't think they faced a lot of brutal defenses this season here. And what we saw, I guess, during the regular season, what I thought would happen during the playoffs is Seattle would struggle a bit on offense when it came to these big games against good defenses. That was my first indication when the Seattle and Rams first played against each other this season in LA. LA won 21-19 that matchup. Sam Darnold hardly did anything in that game. I think he threw 4 interceptions in that game there as well. And you kind of felt like in that situation that Seattle's going to do well, but when it comes to the big games, they're just going to struggle a bit, because when Sam Darnold comes up against these good defenses, these good pass rushers, he just seems to struggle. And I've been completely blown away by how Sam Darnold has been in these playoffs and that San Fran game in Week 18. The ability for him to, you can't really say San Fran in a massive elite defense, but let's just say his ability against the Rams defense to pick it apart. He threw for easily over 300, I think close to 350 yards in that game. Looked very comfortable in that stage there as well. A home conference championship game. A lot of pressure against a veteran quarterback as well, the MVP this season, and Matt Stafford there as well. And it just looks like the combination with him and what Mike McDonald has been able to build has been unbelievable. And just the players have been able to set up for him, where he's been able to have the opportunities to go long to Shaheed, like we saw in that game 2 weeks ago, or Jackson Smith and Jigbo as well. Or if he needs to, just drop it off to Kenneth Walker or Zach Charbonnet, or now it's George Halani there as well. So 2 very, very good defenses, as I spoke about. And I don't want to give the edge to either or. It's going to be a very good defensive battle, though. I'm very intrigued to see definitely how it goes. I think honestly, at halftime, we could definitely see like a 9-7 situation, 10-7, 7-all. I don't think it's going to be a very high-scoring first half at all. I think you could definitely see typical first quarter unders when it comes to the Super Bowl. I'll be very shocked if either team definitely conceded a touchdown in the first quarter. And I think when it comes to the red zone attack, I think both teams are going to be a bit more on the frugal side. Don't get me wrong. Both these coaches are quite offensive and quite... what's the word I'm looking for here? The ability to, want to go for it 4th and 1, 4th and 2. I don't think we're going to see that as much in the Super Bowl, particularly in the first half as well. And aggressive is the word I'm looking for. I think they're going to be a little bit lighter, especially when it comes to midfield. I don't think they're going to go for that 4th and 1, those 4th and 2s. I just think they're going to want to punt it, back their defense like it has been all season, trap them inside the 10-yard line, and just be sort of a field position game in that first half. Would not shock me if we see the second half kind of open up a bit compared to that first half there. Maybe a team's behind and needs to play catch up and get a bit more aggressive, a bit more pass orientated there. But defense-wise, it's going to be a very good defensive battle. I'm very much looking forward to how these two defenses go up against each other. We've got the dark side with the Seattle Seahawks. I don't think the Patriots defense actually has a name for them like the dark side does. But very much looking forward to this defensive battle. Now, when we look at the props in this game here for quarterback-wise, it's very interesting here. So I've got all the props for both quarterbacks here, the main ones you look at. So pass yards, passing touchdowns, passing attempts, pass completions, and interceptions. So, very sort of similar between both of them here, and I guess it comes down to a game situation and how you think the game will go, I guess. For me here, you'll see green where Drake May passing yards is sort of highlighted there. That means over in that situation there. Over 220.5. And it's probably a little bit of a scary one. It hasn't really moved too much since the opening line, which is where we see especially from opening lines to where I'm filming, like recording now, a week and a half later. That's where you see the most movement. That's where the sharps come in and bet it straight away because I've got the bankroll to bet it there as well. And it hasn't moved too much. How I'm looking at this game is Drake May didn't have to do much against Denver, but they were coming up against a backup quarterback. The weather didn't suit. You've got really good weather in San Fran for the situation here. I potentially think there's going to be a situation where the Patriots in the second half may be down in the situation, maybe down late as well, and they need to get a bit more offensive orientated and start passing it a bit more in the situation. Seattle's got an elite rush defense. I think they're going to be able to shut down Ramondre Stevenson. I also think the Patriots will be able to stop Kenneth Walker as well. I don't think I don't think an opposing running back has been able to rush for over 100 yards against this Patriots rush defense all season long, which is an incredible record. But I do think if Seattle are ahead in the situation, I think they'll want to try and keep it out of Sam Darnold's hands as much as possible. Try and run the game, try and chew the clock, run the ball, try and chew the clock quite a lot. When I look at the way that touchdown's going to be scored, obviously Kenneth Walker is a hot favorite to score a touchdown. That's most likely going to be a running touchdown. And I just don't know. Like, I could probably see Drake May throwing for 2 touchdowns in this game here. I don't know, like, how it's going to be, right? Like, I don't know if it's hard to sort of predict, right? And, Seattle's pass defense when it comes to the red zone has been absolutely elite. Their ability to shut down Brock Purdy in those 2 games there was unbelievable, I thought there. Maybe you can look at pass attempts as well. Maybe he's on sitting around the 20 mark, Drake May, near the end of the third quarter, and they're down a couple touchdowns or down by 10, and they need to start passing more to play that sort of bit of catch up. Again, I could see a tighter game, right, where they don't want to sort of pass it too much. They don't want each offense to get on the field. Maybe they just want to run the ball and try and chew clock a bit. I do think Drake May does go over 220.5 pass yards. So that is definitely my first player prop straight off the bat there. In terms of the interception prop that you see down the bottom there, probably a bit too much juice for me to actually sort of lay it for someone to throw an interception here. I do think there'll be an interception in this game there, but if they're both at $2 odds, I'd be happy to take a punt and put a bit of money down for both of them to throw an interception there. And I could see at least one happening, and then you get your money back at worst there. But you're definitely paying a price there for at least one quarterback to throw a touchdown there. All right, let's have a look at the running back props here between Walker and Stevenson. And first one I want to touch on is the Kenneth Walker prop for rushing yards. Opened at 80.5, and it's been absolutely drilled down to 70.5. And a 10-yard movement in a game like this is massive, right? And that is, as I said, comes down to the Patriots' ability to shut down running backs in this sort of matchup here, where they haven't allowed for a running back to hardly go over that number all season long. And I guess when the market opened, the bookies kind of looked at it as they probably thought Seattle would try and really run the ball a lot, try and keep this Patriots offense off the field, try and keep Drake May off the field, and try and really rely on the defense to make the stops here and just, I said, chew the clock. It's probably got to a number where I'm not interested. And as I spoke about, if it's in that situation where Seattle's leading in the last quarter there, I can just see them running and running and running and running. And that's going to lead to more attempts. That's going to lead to more rushing yards, you'd think. And something I'm just not interested in. And I can't really see a situation where the Patriots are quite big up in the last quarter. I can't see Seattle chasing a large margin in this last quarter. I can only see the Patriots being up by a few where it's quite a tight situation. In terms of Ramondre Stevenson, that's definitely a low number for sure. I think it's gone up a few yards since the prop market opened there. The Seattle rush defense is just elite though. But honestly, it takes probably one good 20 to 25 yard run, and Ramondre is going to go over that number. However, what I'm cautious of is, as I said, Seattle being up by 10 points going into the last quarter, and Patriots not running the ball whatsoever. They're not going to run the ball. They're not going to try and get these little 2-3 yard gains. They're going to look to send the ball down the field to Diggs, to Mac Hollins, maybe to Hunter Henry, that sort of thing. They're going to be more pass orientated and try and obviously chase the game. You look at the touchdown prices for both of them there. $1.52 for Walker. Not interested. I'd rather bet on him not to score a touchdown. Ramondre Stevenson's number is an interesting number because it kind of goes back for me to that number of the passing touchdowns for Drake made there. $2.05 for over 1.5 passing touchdowns. I don't think Ramondre Stevenson is in a situation he'll actually score a receiving touchdown. Watch him score a receiving touchdown now. It'll probably happen. But it kind of feels like if you like the under with Drake May under 1.5 passing touchdowns, you maybe lean to Ramondre Stevenson to score a touchdown there as well. I think if Ramondre Stevenson is to score a touchdown, I think it's going to be on the ground. So I think you're getting a bit of value there with Stevenson there to score a touchdown at $2.50 if you do like Drake May under 1.5 passing touchdowns, which is going to be about $1.80 there. So I said, I do think there is a bit of value there at the $2.50. If you're someone that actually likes Drake May to go over 1.5 passing touchdowns at that $2.05, I would be very cautious of backing Stevenson to score a touchdown there as well. Because you're probably going to be wanting a receiving touchdown, or you think the Patriots are scoring 3 touchdowns at least in this game here. Because you look, Drake May throws 2 touchdowns. Let's just say that's one to Stephon Diggs and one to Hunter Henry. Then you've got to rely on Ramondre Stevenson to score a touchdown, most likely on the ground there as well. Then you've got to look at that situation. Can you picture the Patriots scoring 3 touchdowns and at least 21 points against the Seattle defense? And if you think that situation, you either like the Patriots in the game, you either back the Patriots team total, which is, I can get up for you right here on the run. You're going to be looking at, should be around the 19. Yeah, it's 19.5 over with a bit of juice. So you may as well sort of play that number. If you can find the 20.5 at $2.15. So you may as well play the Patriots team total there. If you think Patriots in a situation where they're going to score 3 touchdowns. Maybe you can play the plus 4.5 as well if you think the Patriots defense will step up. But then I think in that situation, you either play the team total or you just play the full game over. Because maybe Seattle end up scoring 27, 28, not quite cover, but the game ends up going over. Rushing and receiving, it's always a bit of a hard one, right? Like you can get a screen pass that goes slightly forward and then the catch goes for 30 yards. Or you can obviously get a backward screen pass and this obviously may go for 30 yards as well. It's a bit of a hard one, right? Like you feel like you bet that number. Let's say you bet Stevenson over 77.5 rushing and receiving. He goes for 60 rush yards, but then he gets 10 receiving yards. And then you're left there at the end of the game like, why the hell didn't I just play over 50.5 rushing yards? He's a running back. He's going to be on the ground a lot. But maybe you think in a situation, Ramondre is going to be that guy where Drake May can just slip the ball off too quickly, put that little sort of like dink and dive sort of pass there. So I'm happy to sort of leave the running back props there. I can see obviously Kenneth Walker going under that number there, but would not shock me if he goes in between 70 and 80, just with how close and how right these markets are. I do think there's slightly a bit of value though, definitely on Stevenson to score a touchdown at 250 there. 250 for a running back to score is pretty good odds for someone that has scored, what do we look at? 9 touchdowns so far this season. And I think he has scored one in the playoffs as well. So yeah, I do think there's a bit of value there on the 250. Maybe that's something I'll consider later on. But now let's have a look at the wide receiver props here. I've listed 3 each on in tight ends. I listed 3 each main receivers on both teams here. Let's start at the top here. Let's start at Jackson Smith and Jigba, because he's going to easily have the highest prop market, highest number easily so far for this game. 94.5. That must be one of the highest that we've ever seen in the Super Bowl. I don't have the facts there in front of me for that one. But 94.5 is a big number, right? And not something I'm interested in. Can I see him hitting that? 100%. I can see him going 100 plus. No doubt about it. Can I see Seattle getting to a big lead and running the ball a lot and he finishes on like 60 or 70? 100%. That happened against San Fran. They scored an opening touchdown off the kickoff there. I think he literally had like 20 or 30 yards for the game. They just did not have to do much. They built a big lead in the first quarter there, and he just did not have to do much. Nor did they have to pass to him at all. So I'm in that sort of predicament. However, when it comes to the red zone sort of play, if Sam Darnold's going to throw a touchdown, I can only see it going to one guy. When it comes to the red zone attack, I think he's just going to rely on his guy. And I get it, JSN's going to be double teamed. But you saw how open he got against the Rams for that touchdown there. They're going to have plays, they're going to have schemes where Jackson Smith is going to be able to get open in situations. And he's just so freaking good that I think he's going to be in a situation where he can get open, or even a one-on-one, he's going to have the ability to get the touchdown. So $1.95, I really like it. I think for a guy that's been the best wide receiver all year, I think a guy will step up in the situation. And it kind of gives me similar vibes to Cooper Kupp in the Rams Super Bowl against the Bengals 3-4 years ago, where he got the Triple Crown and he was the best wide receiver all year easily, and he really stepped up in the Super Bowl. I think he scored 2 touchdowns in the Super Bowl. And you probably would have thought in that situation, Cincinnati Bengals would have double-teamed Cooper Kupp easily in that Super Bowl, but he still managed to score 2, including that last drive where he got a one-on-one situation and scored. And I can just see the exact same thing happening to Jackson Smith and Jigba in this game here. If Sam Darnold's going to throw a touchdown pass in the red zone here, I think it goes to his main guy in this situation. I think he'll want someone that's trustworthy. I think the last thing he'll want to do is throw an interception. And I can just see him really targeting his main guy and Mike McDonald drawing up schemes and plays when it comes to the red zone offense that Jackson Smith and Jigba will end up catching a touchdown. You look at the other props here, like Kupp's 33.5, Barner 24.5. Very good value, I guess, for touchdowns there. But it's just, again, do you think Sam Darnold is going to pass to these guys over Jackson Smith and Jigba in this sort of situation? Maybe AJ Barner. Maybe it's a 1 to 2 yards out in this sort of situation. Maybe they pass it. Maybe you go to AJ Barner. But then you get a guy like Jake Bobo there in a situation who scored against the Rams. So, again, not something I'm quite there with. Another prop I'm interested in is Stephon Diggs. 44.5 for a wide receiver like this in his first Super Bowl just seems a bit low for me in this situation here. And potentially a game where I could see the Patriots coming from behind, and I can just see Drake May in his first Super Bowl. He want to go to the guy he trusts a lot. And Stephon Diggs has had, I think, a relatively good season considering how many is a veteran now. I think he's getting obviously to the pointy end of his career. First Super Bowl appearance, I think he'll really want to step up in the situation and really be the go-to guy for Drake May and kind of be like that safe bubble in the situation. And you could definitely look at Hunter Henry, I guess, being that guy in that situation too. Nice solid tight end. Can you really see Drake May relying on Mac Hollins in this situation, or like a Kyle Williams or a Demario Douglas, I guess, in this situation to go long? I just think he'll trust Stephon Diggs. He'll want to get his pass completions up, especially early on. And you just want to try and go to his main receiver in this situation, Stephon Diggs. And I can really see him going over that 44.5. And we look at the last 4 games for Stephon Diggs. He's gone 101, 43, 16, 40, and 17. So the numbers in that situation probably don't look at Stephon Diggs going over, But again, Stephon Diggs against Denver didn't have to do a whole lot there. Diggs against Houston, they were leading pretty much most of the game. Didn't have to do a whole lot there either. And then you look at the wildcard game against the Chargers. I thought Drake May was pretty poor in that game there, so I'm not going to look at that one too much. But I just think 44.5 for a wide receiver this good just seems like a pretty low number for me in this situation. All right, now let's cross over to our best bets, baby, for the Super Bowl 60 in Santa Clara. Hopefully I've got this right. Beautiful. So, Super Bowl best bets. First one to kick off. Look at the spread. So we've talked about the quarterback, advantage Patriots. We've talked about running back, slight edge to Seattle. We've talked about the receiver, wide receiver 1. I'm going to give the edge to Seattle, definitely in that situation. Then we look at the defense here. I'm going to probably say they're about even in this situation here. I haven't spoke about the coaching situation. Honestly, I think the coaching is just as good. These coaches are so good that there's a reason why these teams have made the Super Bowl and why they were 60-1 preseason and they've ended up making the Super Bowl. And it comes down a lot to the coaching of how they've coached their quarterbacks, because no one probably thought these two quarterbacks would get anywhere near MVP sort of level, anywhere near Super Bowl in the preseason. As I said, it comes down a lot to these coaches here, Mike McDonald and Mike Vrabel, and how they've been able to dictate the offense and get these quarterbacks rolling so good that they're now in the Super Bowl here. So overall, honestly, you're going from what I've said, you probably think this line is going to be about even here. So now begs the question, do I have a lean to Seattle or do I have a lean to the Patriots? I don't honestly love a side enough for me to get to the window in this situation, in the Super Bowl here. Can I see Seattle honestly winning by 7 or more in this situation? I actually can. I actually just think they're being so good. They're just been rolling all year. They just look so good. Can I see them like in a situation where they win by 10 plus? Yes, I can. Laying 4.5 in a Super Bowl though is not great. I think it was the last 25 Super Bowls, it's gone to like against the spread, 18 dogs, 6 favorites, and I think there's been one pick 'em or 2 pick 'em situations here. So when it comes to favorites sort of like this in this situation here, dogs definitely do cash. But as I said, when it comes down to betting Patriots plus 4.5, you're leaving yourself only 4 points, because I actually think Seattle will win the Super Bowl. I do think Seattle win, but I said, do I rely on them to win by 5 or more? No. But when I look at the Patriots plus 4.5 and I think Seattle wins, I've got only 4 points to play with. Now, don't get me wrong, Seattle can win by 3 or 4. 1 or 2 is not the most common. That's probably coming down to a game-winning field goal there, which can happen, of course. Do I see it happening? No. Do I see a situation where the Patriots win? And I just don't think I do. It's just like, the main thing is the quarterback situation, and it's, can I see Drake May stepping up to the plate in a big situation and going to win the game for the Patriots there? And you listen to me now, I just don't know if I have the confidence to actually go down and bet that number. And I feel like if you're going to bet the Patriots plus 4.5, you may as well chuck a little sprinkle on the money line there as well. And do I see the Patriots winning? I just don't. I think Seattle wins this game, but do I have enough trust in Seattle to go win this by more 4.5? Based off what I've said in my analysis so far? No, I don't. I just can't get there. You look at the total, 45.5. I spoke about first half. I think between these defense, I think it's going to be a really tight, gritty game. These offenses kind of just getting used to the defenses. It's a Super Bowl. I want to just trying to hold on to the ball, be a bit more on the safer side. I can't see any big long balls. I can see long possessions. I can see punting in situations they probably wouldn't usually punt, and just trying to get the other team trapped inside the 15 to 10 yard line, maybe even 5 yard line. In regards to a full game total, I don't really have an opinion on it either. What I want to look at though is the second half, because I think the second half I definitely think can open up in the situation here. And what I also like in the situation, with over 23.5 here, and if I get it up here, it's also the highest scoring half here, which is actually now, I looked at it last night when I bet over 23.5 and doing these graphics. Not Seattle. Second half, highest scoring half was actually $1.76. We're now looking at $1.86 for highest scoring half the second half. And you look at what I talked about, a tight, gritty first half. I think it'll definitely open up in the second half here, 100%. I can see both offenses starting to click a bit more. You can maybe see a team where they're maybe 10-0 down, or down a situation, and they need to start scoring touchdowns. You know, Seattle may come out in the second half and score a touchdown straight away. Patriots may be 10 points down then. They may need to reply with a touchdown straight away. If you're in a situation where it's 10-7 at halftime, a team scores a touchdown right out the gates to start the second half, you've only got 11 more points in that situation to get your highest scoring half in the second half. Then let's say Patriots throw up the ante and score a touchdown there. That's 14 points out of your 17. You only need like a couple more field goals, and then you've cashed a ticket. 3 touchdowns and a field goal in the second half is something I can definitely see happening, where it's a situation where it gets out of hand and a team runs away with it, or where we see a situation where a team is potentially like 7 or 10 points behind and they need to play catch up there. I can just see the game really opening up in the second half. The second half, over 23.5 for me, is my official best bet when you look at the total or spread, with the highest scoring half at $1.86. Second half, highest scoring half. Now let's look at the props, because we spoke about Stephon Diggs, we spoke about Drake May over 220.5 pass yards there. So there's your two props. And we spoke about Jackson Smith and Drew about anytime touchdown. What I want to look at is Drake May over 37.5 rush yards now. So I did this last night. Let me look at the number now while I've got it on my screen. It is for Drake May. It's still 37.5. Drake May so far at this playoffs, he ran for 65 against Denver. He only ran against 10 against Houston. He ran for 66 against the Chargers, and then 41 the week before there as well. I think Drake May, under a lot of pressure from the Seattle pass rush, will want to look to run it. And I think Mike Vrabel will be saying in a situation, if you're struggling to find a receiver, instead of pushing the pass, just run. Use your legs, try and get a few yards. I can see Drake May either having quite a big, long run, over 10 yards here in this situation. And I think he'll look, when he's not passing, I think he'll look to definitely run it. I said, I think they'll be able to shut down Ramondre Stevenson quite a bit. And I think they'll, in a situation, who do you trust more? Drake May or Ramondre Stevenson? It's going to be Drake May all along there. And I said, I think he goes over his pass yards. I think he goes over his rush yard number as well. And this comes down for me. I said, I think Seattle win the game, whether it's by 1, whether it's by 10. But I think the Patriots will be in a situation where they have to play catch up, where you're looking at either Drake May goes over that number of 220, or he ends up going over in that rush yards there as well. So really do like all 4 of these props here. I think there's good value on either side of them, definitely for sure. I think Drake May will be able to have the ability to have some success throwing the ball in the later stages of the game and also using his legs. And if he goes over that pass yard number, I just don't see a situation where Stephon Diggs go under that number and Drake May goes over that number. And we spoke about Jackson Smith scoring a touchdown when it comes to red zone offense. So there's my 5 best bets. You have 1 best bet plus your 4 player props there. Now let's get into some special bets, because we spoke about Super Bowl. It's got all types of novelty bets, all types of really kind of out there bets, and you can kind of find some value if you think, and especially some really high odds as well. So I've got 5 here for you as well. So I've got 10 bets for this Super Bowl, baby. We're finishing on an absolute bang. The first one I want to start off with is both quarterbacks to complete the first half at odds of $2.10. And it's juiced to no. And for me in this situation, what more does a quarterback want when they start a Super Bowl? And what more does a coach want to do for their quarterback when starting a Super Bowl? And that is for that quarterback to just complete the first completion. Just get the first completion, get the first pass going. I think this could be a screen pass to either Walker or Stevenson. I think it could be just a little shovel, little dink-off pass to Hunter Henry. Just get your first completion. It'll be under 10 yards. Just get your first completion with your first pass. It doesn't dim the confidence a lot, but you just want to complete your first sort of pass, right? It kind of like when it comes down to golf, your first tee shot in a big tournament or a big round, you just want to get on the fairway. You just want to start with a par, just get the round going. You know, you start with a bogey, it's fine. You move on. You still got plenty of time to go. If you start with a birdie, you're like, cool, great start. But if you start with a par, you're like, cool, that's all I want to do. You're not looking to get aggressive or anything. You just want to start solidly here. And I can just see both quarterbacks having a really solid short pass just to get the first completion underway, get the ball moving down the field. So I think 210 provides some really good value. When you look at other games during the season, you're looking generally around the $1.80 to $1.90 sort of mark in this situation. So do think between two good quarterbacks, you're getting good value there at 210. Next one I want to start off is go for a bit of value here, and that's a player to have the longest reception. That is going to be Rashid Shaheed at $8 here. So obviously your juicy favorite here is Jackson Smith and Jigba here to get the longest reception. But Rashid Shaheed, if he's going to have one catch, it's going to be a big, long catch here. That's going to be Sam Darnold going for it long down the field. We saw it in the NFC Championship game on the first drive of the game for Seattle. 3rd down and 10. Sam Darnold go down the field to Shaheed for like a 50-something yard completion. I think that was the longest reception of the game there as well. And I just think Shaheed is that type of guy. He's going to get a reception. He's a long ball type of guy. He only needs one catch to get this number here. So yeah, I think there's a bit of value there. $8 for Shaheed to have the longest reception here. So a bit of value there. Next one I want to talk about is over 2.5 players to record a pass attempt at $2.40. So you're obviously going to have 2 players throw a pass attempt in this game here, but who is going to be the other player to throw one here? Could be a running back, could be a receiver, could be a backup quarterback in this cashes, which can happen. You could have an injury and this happens, right? I think there's a bit of value here at 240 here, and you'll see the play below it as well kind of correlates with it, because Cooper Kupp has posted a Instagram post during the week of him essentially throwing a ball. Now, I don't want to get speculative or, you know, throw like conspiracy theories out there, but I'm happy to take a shot there at 61-1 for Cooper Kupp to throw a pass there. That'll also cash you over 2.5 players to record a pass attempt. Doesn't have to be completed, just literally has to attempt a pass. We saw Christian McCaffrey a couple Super Bowls ago against the Chiefs. He had a touchdown pass. And it can happen, right? It cashed last year. I think Kenny Pickett came on late in the game and threw a pass there for the Eagles there that cashed that one there. It can happen. And I'm happy to ride the speculation, the conspiracies, baby, of seeing that post and just taking the chance. Can literally be such a small play at $61 odds, but I'll also cash the above play there. Then the bottom play here as well is under 126.5 total offensive plays. So I did a bit of research into this one here, and pretty much correlates all up on offense and defense for both teams around the 120 mark. I think Seattle, should actually get the facts up, but I think Seattle on offense has had on average about 59 or maybe close to 60 plays. They've both honestly had close to on offense and defense. Seattle and the Patriots, about 60 plays either side of the football throughout the season. Put your 60 and 60 all together, you're going to get 120. That leaves 6 to play with essentially there. And I can see both coaches really using the game clock well. I don't think they'll really try and use fast pace a lot. I think, you know, especially in that first half, I just think they'll try and want to keep either offense off the field here. Yeah, you might have short possessions where like good defense and like they're going pass, and then you're going to use 30 seconds off the clock there. But I think both coaches would look to use their time wisely. I don't think they'll want to give easy possession away. I think they'll want to, when they have the ball, use their time effectively and use the ball effectively and try and keep both either quarterback off the field here. So that's why I've got that play there. Under 126.5 total offensive plays. I think there's some good value there. That's a $1.90 play there. I think there's a lot of value there. Can't see it going up. I can only see that number going down. I'm not sure what it opened at, but can't see more than 126 offensive plays been happening in this game here. So that'll do it for me, guys. There's your 5 special bets. Go back to the other one. There's your 5 best bets as well. Your best bet and your 4 player props for the situation here. That's been me, baby. That's my Red Zone report. Finale here. Super Bowl matchup here. I'm going to say, give me a final score for you before you guys go. And that's going to be Seattle I'm going to say 20. Oh, geez. See, this is the hard one. It's obviously hard. I'm going to go Seattle 24-20. I think the game just goes under. I think Seattle Patriots just get the cover here. Forgot to mention at the start, there's obviously a lot of public are on Seattle at the moment. They're on the -4.5 here. And there's obviously a bit more money on the Patriots side. The books need Patriots. The Vegas need Patriots, which is always it's always a weird indicator when you look at this sort of situation. It doesn't come into sort of how I look at how to bet it, but definitely the public's on Seattle, and does the public when it comes to winning these things not generally there. So that'll do it for me for the Red Zone report for 2025 NFL season. Cannot thank you guys enough for the support I received this season here. That'll do it for me. I will be back obviously next season with the Red Zone report, being one of my favorite shows, probably my favorite show to record since I started this podcast here. But that means the start of footy season is just upon us. So I've got Supercoach happening. I've got NRL happening all over the place. Make sure you go check it out if you are someone that does look at the Supercoach there. That'll do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy your Super Bowl football, and cheers.